All right, if you're a real estate agent that's wondering, what can I do this year to have my best year ever, no matter what the market's doing? We've got some answers for you today. I got my buddy Trey Willard with me. We're going to talk about that we are actually in the action economy, exactly what he's doing because his team is having their best year ever, and how you can apply it in your business. Trey, this has been long overdue. I mean, it's probably been 5 years since we've sat down and done something like this. I got to tell you a quick story before we even get into this.
Yeah.
I had the last video we did. We were shooting some stuff over at our office on 30A, and you were there, and you were in your beach mode. I mean, you were here on vacation. You had taken some time. We were just kind of hanging out, and you had like your beach T-shirt on with your tie, and we were kind of looking at each other across the table and shooting this way. And I came in and I said to one of the people that was working with me, I was like, why didn't you tell me? Look at my head. My head is shining, to this lady that works with me. And you were there with, doing what you do, ripped out with your, tight T-shirt on with your arms there. And she said, Jimmy, ain't nobody looking at your head. I said, well, that's self-defeating. I appreciate that. But anyway, man, look, every single time you and I get together, I feel like I get smarter. And so, man, I'm excited for people to kind of be a fly on the wall, so to speak, and just hear us talk a little bit about kind of what we're seeing out there right now. To give you all a little background, if you don't mind, Trey, I'm going to let you do it. But, man, I will tell you, probably one of the most efficient team leaders that I know. Just the way you run your business is inspiring to me. And just the way that you stay in the trenches with your folks, that you are constantly learning and growing personally, which then leads over into your leadership as a team leader, is just inspiring. But if you don't mind, tell them a little bit about where you are, and then let's get into kind of what you're seeing right now as far as the change in the market.
Yeah. Trey Willard, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We've got a team here in Baton Rouge, which is our hub, as we would call it. We're in the North Shore. So we've got about 30 agents here, 10 agents on the North Shore, another 10 to 12 agents in New Orleans. So sitting around approximately 60 agents in total right now. Man, we started off best quarter currently we've got 117 homes under contract. We just surpassed 100 closed units for the year, and then we put 188 homes under contract year to date. So I feel like we're feeling a lot of momentum from just tremendous amount of pent up demand over the last 3.5 years, and I think people are just ready to do something. I think they're just tired of sitting on the sideline, and a lot of people got a lot of equity in their properties right now, and I think they're aware of that. Interest rates obviously have been incredibly volatile over the last week or so as we record this on what's today, April 14th of 2025. So, yeah, man, I mean, it's a great start of the year, and what we're seeing, we're a big, heavy Zillow Flex team in the sense of, we're getting probably 350 to 400 connections a month. I mean, we've set over 1,200 appointments so far year to date, and we've gone on over 700 of those appointments. So we're fortunate enough to get to meet a lot of people, have a lot of conversations, and the conversation I think with most people is they're just tired of waiting. And interest rates are like, with buy downs and with, some builder incentives, where you could still get into a permanent 5.99 on some of these new construction deals around here. And then you could buy the rate down 2 points. We're just being really creative. And the goal is, and this is something that I just got back from Nashville, Tennessee, and we get to spend a few days with Tom Ferry and we're in the team coaching. And Tom had challenged us, and he asked us, like, what are our 3 core functions as a business? It's funny, a lot of people answered the question and they didn't answer it, I guess, in the way I think we think, like lead generation, lead follow-up, right? Things like that. But really the core functions of our business is to advise and consult, to educate, and then we added in tech enabled, right? So we can make this more efficient for our consumers so they can have that information, as quickly as they're looking to grab it, and they can make some really intelligent decisions with that data, right? So those are the 3 core functions that he mentioned. So it really got me thinking. I think that's the thing that we've probably done really well recently, is just being the advisors and the consultants. So again, learning all the different products that are out there on the mortgage side, learning about all the incentives that the builders are offering, and just being really creative and really good. It's know what to say, how to say it, and have enough people to say it too. So
Yeah.
I'd say that a lot of that kind of leads into where the success has come from so far this year.
Well, I think it's inspiring too. I think a lot of people, if they, it's just, oh, you need to be in the right rooms. When you and I talk, it's a different conversation than when I have with some other people. And so I think some of the things that's great about this is it is inspiring. As I always say, somebody's gonna have their best year ever. You guys are having your best year ever. You know what I mean? So it's not like this is like theory. This is
Yeah.
actually what's happening. And so I'd love to kind of get into some of those things where, whether it be the team leader that's listening or the agent, because we'll get into some specific things that y'all are doing and you're doing and the agents are doing right now to generate some of those conversions. But let's talk a little bit. You and I were talking maybe a week or so ago, and we were talking about that you felt like, hey, look, I believe this is the action economy. You want to explain that? And then let's get into kind of, the process of building to getting to that activity, that daily activity.
Yeah, 100%. And I can go so far into this. I can go in a lot of different directions. And when I think about this, I was grateful enough to come up in the Keller Williams ecosystem. And Gary Keller wrote a book way back in the day called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And in that book, he puts in what's called the lead generation model, right? And one of the things that has always stuck with me, that we're in a lead generation or a prospecting business, marketing enhanced, right? So
Good.
we've always had to take what I would consider to be pretty disciplined action. And I believe we're in a world today where action is more important than it's ever been, in the sense of, like, you could get really creative, and people who are really creative could really stand out. Artificial intelligence today, you can type in whatever you want in Grok and Chat GPT, and it will give you a million different ideas, a million different thoughts. I mean, you literally, like, you could get anything in the world you want. Now, the difference is having the knowledge and actually taking action on the knowledge is two totally different things, right? So I feel like, because the information is so readily available, more than it's ever been today, what happens is, like, people get into paralysis because they don't know what to do with all of the information that they have. Or they think, well, I don't have any value to offer because someone can get it anywhere they want, right? But the difference between, I think, the people who are being incredibly successful today, they're taking that information and they're taking action immediately. They're not
Yeah.
asking questions. They're not overthinking it. They don't have limiting beliefs around it. They're just like, I know that I've got to take disciplined action right now. And that's why I believe that we're in the action economy. And I believe, as real estate professionals, we've always been in the prospecting based, marketing enhanced business. And the sooner you can understand that and know that, like, the only thing, Jimmy, I tell people this all the time, and if you disagree with me, or someone disagrees or wants to challenge me on this, I'd be open minded to a conversation. But number one, the very foundational thing that's going to move a transaction forward is, number one, I have to have a conversation with someone. So whether that is through email, through text message, through phone call, through they walked in an open house, whatever it is, face to face, not face to face, I've got to have a conversation, right? So it all starts with the conversation, and we follow very specific KPIs, right? And those KPIs are, I don't really track conversations, because an appointment set inevitably would have happened, or an appointment met with a conversation of some kind. So we really focus on the appointment mets, but it's an appointment set, appointment met, a signed buyer or a seller, under contract unit, and a closed unit, right? So things have to happen in that order. You can't skip one. You can't meet someone without actually physically setting an appointment. You probably had a conversation before you actually meet with these folks, right? So I live in a world where I believe that simplicity scales and complexity kills.
That's good.
So if I could just get the agents just to focus on, number one, we are in a prospecting based business, and nothing else really matters than having conversations with people about real estate.
Yeah, man, it's so good. Hey, every single time, I don't know whether this happens to you, but every single time that I talk about conversations and I talk about, taking action and those things, and I know, man, I feel like I've told this story so many times, and I know you probably have too, but what was that? Probably 4, 5, 6, maybe 6, 7 years ago. You, me, Doug Edrington, we were having dinner. Charlie Causey, your buddy from,
Yeah.
was there. And you and me and Doug, we're just talking about all these things that are going on with real estate. Charlie's sitting there with, and he said, fellas, let me tell you what I tell my people. He's in the insurance business, right? And so he's
Yeah.
like, let me tell you what I tell my agents. He said, you see this phone right here? He said, that phone is sitting on the table. You know what that is? Broke. rich, broke. He said that, and but the three of us looked at each other and like, what? He has boiled everything we've been talking down to. No matter what you're doing, it all should be leading to either broke or rich.
Yeah.
And it's just taking action, making the
Yes.
calls, having those conversations that lead to those appointments that do all those things. And man, I know I completely agree. And I think this is another one of those where we are in the where social media, where video, where all this stuff, everything you do should be leading to those conversations that lead to those KPIs that you're talking about. So I completely agree. So let's talk about it. Look, in order to take the action, sometimes it's kind of a process. A lot of times it starts with mindset. I mean, look, one of the things you and I've talked about a lot, and literally like I'd love to hear like some books you're reading right now, because I mean you're constantly doing those things. But how do you start with the mindset? Where does that start, and how do you set that up? I mean, look, you're setting the stage and setting the table, so to speak, for your agents to be able to eat and for yourself to be able to eat, because you're still in production. But how does that look to set the mindset to where we can get to that point where taking action is just second nature?
Yeah, so that the mindset is something I work on every day, and whether you have what I would consider to be like your quote unquote miracle morning, right? You have some sort of a daily ritual or habit or a routine that's going to inevitably get you into some momentum, right? And
Right.
I'm a huge believer in the miracle morning, right? So savor, so silent affirmations, right? Visualizations, exercise, reading, and scribing. So to do all of those in the matter of an hour a day is probably pretty challenging. For me, it's interesting, and you and I talked about this, Jimmy, and I know you're a very spiritual guy. I've been going through a very like my faith path. I've always been a Christian my entire life. But there's a difference between being a Christian and literally being in the Word and having a relationship with God, right? So like every day I get up, and like for me, there's always devotional. There's always some time in the Word. Actually, you had mentioned books. There's a book called The Richest Man Who Ever Lived, not to be confused by The Richest Man in Babylon, written by a guy named
Right.
Stephen K. Scott. And the entire book is about King Solomon and the Proverbs. And it talks about just really like all of the Proverbs and in the word, and how you can inevitably implement that in your life. So, for me, it's like, it's got to be a morning routine, but it's constant. It's like they say, like motivation, right? Motivation is like bathing, right? We got to bathe every day to stay clean, right? Motivation is the same thing. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't have it. So for me, it comes into what I would consider like my quote unquote formula. And this is something Gary Keller said, and I love this. He said, knowledge plus learning plus confidence equals motivation. And I'm real big on like frameworks and systems and processes. Again, remember, Jimmy, I'm a pretty simplistic guy. I don't need anything too complex, or I won't take action, right? So like when you learn something, or you're gaining knowledge about something, right? It's like you read it, then you memorize it, and then you internalize it. It's inevitably the same thing. So as you compound on that, the more you know, would you agree that you feel more confident?
Oh, absolutely.
And when you feel
Absolutely.
more confident, do you want to take more action?
Completely. Yeah, absolutely. It's the process.
Yeah. So inevitably, how do you work on the confidence piece of this? And for a lot of people, it's the compound effect. And the compound effect by Darren Hardy, probably the greatest
Very good.
business book that I've
Mhm.
ever read, because you can apply it to any concept that you want in life. I don't care what it is. You want to lose weight, compound effect.
Yeah.
You want to get stronger, compound effect. You want to get smarter, compound effect. You want your money to grow and compound on itself, compound effect. So for me, and I don't know, Jimmy, when this happened, 15 years in the business, I'll tell you what I've always done. I've always got dressed. I've always shown up to the office between 7:45 and 8 o'clock. I've always started my day off with some sort of motivation or a podcast or a book or something like that. And then inevitably, like I always try to make my first call something that's like calling a friend, whether it's wishing them a happy birthday or just doing something to create that momentum. And then when I have that momentum and I've had like one or two good conversations, it's easy to get into the ones that may not be so easy, because I've already feel like I've kind of had some success. So building on that momentum is really the easiest thing that you can do, because then you get into the flow state. When you get in a flow state, man, it's really just hard to like knock you off. It's just like people can tell you no all day long, and I'm just going to keep dialing and keep dialing until I get that yes. So I would say again, foundation is the mindset, and the mindset is reading. And then when you learn more about Trevor Moawad read a book called It Takes What It Takes. And this is probably my favorite thing that he says in the book. He said, don't say dumb shit out loud. Okay. And what he means by that is like, some people will tell you you can control the negative thoughts in your brain. I don't necessarily think that you can control them. But what I think, the moment that you manifest them, they're significantly more likely to come true. So if you're putting a bunch of negative and pessimistic stuff out there, it's really hard to get out of that mindset. This is really cool. Ed Milet, and this is for like our visual folks, but Ed Milet said in a podcast one day, I'll never forget, we have all these negative thoughts. And you remember, and for you and I, Jimmy, this is easy, but we had DVDs and CDs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you have a
Yes.
DVD and a CD and it's got like a little scratch on it and you put it in the CD deal, what happens if it's got scratches?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
skipped,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right? So imagine taking a DVD or a CD and taking your car keys or something really sharp and just scratching this disc to where it no longer operates. It doesn't play. So think about your thoughts, and take your thoughts and in twofold. You can say it's either a CD or even like a paper shredder, and you're taking these negative thoughts and then you're just shredding them or you're destroying them, right? And you're not allowing them to come back in. Now, listen, I know this takes work and it's something that I'm constantly practicing. But the number one thing for me is really just, again, it's every day I wake up just coming from a place of gratitude. And it's hard to be really like in a bad mood or be negative or being pessimistic when you're grateful about everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it takes work, but it's the compound effect. So if you start there and you just do this, just make this a discipline and a practice, right? Per the one thing, Jay Papasan says 66 days it takes to compound on a habit. And when you can create new disciplines and habits, they become internalized and you don't even have to think about them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Trey, what I love about this is obviously this is the same things you and I've talked about for years. It's just now it's compounding for both of us in our businesses, in our personal life and spiritual life, everything we're doing. One of the things that is interesting to me, though, is there have been seasons where I have been, disconnected and it's just kind of been me. You probably had those seasons too. But now what I see you doing and what I'm doing also is I'm trying to surround myself with people that are thinking the same way. I'm trying to lead in a way that provides those opportunities. And look, I would just say, if you're an agent out there and you're not connected, find a way. I mean, look, Trey started doing that. You started doing that through Tom Ferry's organization with coaching, and now you've brought that back to your local market, to your agents, and that's what's growing. But find a way, whether it be a mastermind group, whether it be a local group of agents, whatever it is, figure that out. What does a team meeting look like? You know what I mean? Because obviously you're constantly teaching some of this to the team to keep their mindset in that position. What does a typical flow of a team meeting look like for you guys?
Yeah, and look, mine's pretty redundant, but at the same time, I follow the rule of the 4 disciplines of execution because I really believe the 4 disciplines of execution is a foundation of our business. So number one, we have to create the wildly important goal, right? So the team has their wildly important goal. For us this year, it's 600 transactions, 170 million in volume, 4.25 million in GCI. A net of 20% would put me at like a 975, 950 net. And then I've got, buyers and sellers broken up 70% on the buy side, 30% on the sell side. And then I have those numbers, $285,000 average sales price. I can tell you this at any point. I can pull up CSU, which is my scoreboard, and tell you where we are. Are we ahead? Are we behind? Are we not? So Monday morning looks like this, right? I have CSU on the board. We're going over all of our KPIs that matter, right? Appointments set, appointments met, signed units, under contract, closed, volume. Are we on track? Are we not on track? That's our scoreboard. So create the wildly important goal, act on the lead measures is number 2, which is the KPIs, appointments set, appointments met, right? And then it's create the compelling scoreboard, which is what CSU is. And then from there's got to be some sort of a cadence of accountability, right? And that's the one commitment that I made to my team, which is somewhere I feel like I've really failed them in the past. Meaning I would do all the other things really, really good, but without the cadence of accountability, and there's no following up to see how your agents are doing, it's really easy to get behind. And then what happens is when you get too far behind, paralysis sets in again, and here we are is like, oh shit, You know what I mean? I either need a new goal, I need to change the goal, or there's always next year, I just kind of throw in the towel and kind of give up. So a normal meeting is we go over our KPIs. And then once we go over our KPIs, my operations director, and I told you this, is like, we've just built a proprietary AI system, if you will, for our team specifically. And that AI will literally, I could text and say, hey, Siri, text Emma AI. And Emma AI, hey, send me my last 10 appointments. And it's going to pull up the last 10. Move Jimmy Burgess from appointment set to appointment met. Move Jimmy Burgess from appointments met into under contract status. Send me the most recent active listings in University Club Plantation. We've got it. We're feeding it MLS data. We're feeding it market data. We're building this. So like Daniel, my operations director, so he gives his whole spiel on like, what are we working on internally, showing people how to use our follow-up ball systems, anything. It just seems like, Jimmy, when we talk about the action economy, what used to take us weeks to build, to implement, to dream about, we are now doing in seconds to a day. So it's really just like, that's the time for us to just talk about like what's going on in our business internally. What efficiencies are we making? What are we working on? What would you guys like to see? Kind of an opportunity for a little bit of collaboration. And then I'll let my leadership go through anything from marketing to transaction management, listing coordination, our ISA. Everybody just kind of gets an opportunity to just speak and say, here's what we have going on. And then we've always got some housekeeping stuff. We've got some in-house mortgage lenders who will touch on like what's going on in the market. And again, it's to keep the agents informed. That's every Monday. And then every Tuesday I run a scripting role playing, or we can call it transferring of skills, if you will, because I think that's kind of what it's turned into more. And that's more collaborative, Jimmy. And sometimes we may talk about strictly mindset things. Sometimes we're going to like actually go through, Zillow and buyer and seller scripts or objections and how would you handle that? And like, let's role play live. So it's really, I kind of leave it up to the agents on like what's most important to them.
Yeah, no, this is good. And I will tell you that I think the cadence of accountability is one of the most important parts of everything. I'm the same way. We do 4 disciplines of execution, and with me not having a team, it's mostly single agents that I'm doing this with. And a lot of times what we do is just like you said, it's a wild important goal. Then it's the leading indicators. Last week I said I would, and we have them each, individually. And if somebody wants to copy this, I can send it to them, just DM me on Instagram. But basically it's like last week I said I would, and we have 3 specific things, and that may be anchored in number of conversations. It may be anchored in open houses, whatever it is that they're focusing on to generate the opportunities. And then it's like, all they do is they say, I either did or I didn't do what I said last week.
Right.
And all that is look, there's nobody going to be like, you suck for not doing that. It's having that cadence of accountability where I don't want to disappoint. I'm not going to come on a call with Trey and be like, Trey, I told you last week I'd do this. I just didn't do it. It's just a psychological activity to generate that. And then it's next week I will do this. And then we go through with the numbers, and we do a little bit more of a mastermind where it's like, hey, you got 3 listings this week, or you got 2 under contract. What did you do? How did that conversation flow? What was the things you said or activities you did, so that we share that with the group? And then it's, what am I going to do this week to make myself a better realtor? And literally those are a great way to figure out what other people are doing to get better too. So
yeah, and it's a little different. So that's my because the Baton Rouge is so big. We're talking 30 plus agents in one room typically on a Monday. We don't get to get as like dialed in and as deep with each person, but on my expansion call, so I'll run my like tomorrow. Well, today's Monday. On Wednesday, I'm going to drive to New Orleans. I'm going to run my team meeting in New Orleans, right? And then I'm going to bring some form of training to them. So run our team meeting, do that, and then on Wednesday, the next week, what I'll do is I'm going to go to Mandeville, Covington, and what we do is we pull up CSU and we go over our metrics and our KPIs and our goals, and we share for everybody to see. So you can't. Right. Yeah. And I believe in transparency is you're going to level up or you're going to level out. I really only think that's the 2 things that are going to happen, right? Like we're not necessarily saying, well, you didn't hit your numbers and we're here to micromanage you, but like, you set the goal. I didn't set the goal. It's my goal to try to help you get to your goal. And why is that important to you? And how can I assist you through that? right?
Right.
So that's more or less kind of the cadence. And then on Fridays, we have another separate call with New Orleans. And then we have on Thursday mornings with all of our new agents, we do a new agent accountability call. So depending on kind of like where you are, like my veteran agents can like pull me aside to do one-on-ones whenever they feel like it, but then I'm strategic to where my operations director and I really split our roster in half, and we do
Yeah.
quarterly reviews with each of the agents on the team. And
Yeah.
that's a
That's
full
real.
questionnaire. And I mean, it's pretty dialed in. And then it's just to make sure, like, hey, are we supporting you? Are we doing the things that we said we would do? And if not, give us some feedback. Where are we faltering? Because I'm the most coachable human being on the planet, meaning
Right.
you tell me I'm sucking shit, then you need to tell me I'm sucking, and then I'm going to make some improvements, right?
Right.
But but but
Yeah.
but I'm asking you to be just as accountable and as coachable as I am.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and I will tell you, for me, like, and I don't know about you, but for me, as a leader who is providing, I've always said accountability is love. I mean, look, if I
Yeah.
didn't care about you, I just let you do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? But in reality, it is truly a form of love. And what I've found is the person being on both sides. Like you say, I need to have, speaking spiritually, I've always said, you need to have a Paul in your life who's teaching you, and you need to have a Timothy in your life who you're teaching. I mean, it needs to be a flow of accountability. And what I found is a lot of times when I'm the person holding people accountable, they're watching. And so I can't just ask them to do something that I'm not willing to do. So this is where I want to transition now into what does this day look like? Because look, I really appreciate the fact that you have stayed in production. You know what I mean? It'd be very easy for you just to lead the team, but you stayed in production. First off, why? And secondly, what does that look like? And then maybe we can rotate into what does a great day look like for one of your agents where when they get done, they know they've done the things that they are moving the ball forward and they're doing those leading indicators we talk about all the time.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And just like every CEO who's in this business, there's going to become a point where like I have to exit the production order to put all of my
Right.
energy and my focus into continuing to build this business closer and closer and closer to getting there. But like as of now, the one reason I probably do it, honestly, there is some enjoyment in there. I feel like it's something I'm really good at. You know what I mean? But also, when you and I were talking about it, it helps keep me sharp. So I've
Right.
got the credibility with the agents because they see me out there as the rainmaker, and I've been the rainmaker of the team for the last 15 years. You know what I mean? Now I'm starting to see some other agents starting to pass me up, and it's a proud moment for me. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not the top dog anymore. Like, but it also motivates me a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I'm like, oh wait, hold on.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
coming.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it does help me stay obviously motivated, it sharp, you know what I mean? Like my negotiation skills, my relationships with cooperating agents, all those are reasons why I stay in it. Not to mention, you and I also discussed when you're running a business and you look at cost of sale, right? And I think I hear people talk about running a business, and then I'll start having conversations about people. And it's really hard to find agents or team leaders in this business who run a real business.
Yeah.
I mean, a real
Right.
business, tracking,
Right.
measuring, you know what I mean? Like, so if I look at cost of sale, and let's just say an agent sells a house, right? And let's say it's Zillow, worst case, right? 35 to
Mhm.
40% off the top. That's the cost of sale. Then you split what's remaining with the agent at 50-50. That only leaves you with like 35 to 30% of the actual total GCI, which is really it's not enough to really do a whole lot, right? So like, but if I sell a house and it's somebody in my sphere of influence, which 95% of my business is, there's no referral fees paid on that. There's no cost of sale paid on that. We pay a total team cap with the company, which we've capped, or I capped almost a year ago, right? So if a commission comes in and it's a $15,000 commission, $15,000 of that goes back into the business,
Right.
right? To continue to run operating expenses. So most people say you don't have a profitable business unless you get out and you get hit by a car out there and you show up and your business continues to run whether you show up or not. I do believe that, but for now I'm not there. But we'll get there, right?
Right.
I have to replace myself. So it may take me to hire 30 agents to replace me.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So
Yes.
until we get there, it's always a push and a pull and a push and a pull. But like I've always had the goal, and this was written in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Gary Keller said, first you have to think a million, right? Meaning mentally, can I get to a place to where I can think of making a million? Then you earn a million, right? So once you've earned a million, you've thought a million, then you earn a million, which we've done for the last, decade probably almost. And then you have to net a million. Okay. I have been like knocking on the door of that for the last like 3 or 4 years. And some years I've been close. Some years I haven't even been anywhere, I've been half of my goal. But the reason that's so important to me, Jimmy, is because you have to net $1 million before you can give $1 million away.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's about how do I give $1 million away? So it's really just a kind of a framework for me. Now, can I give $1 million away without making $1 million? Sure. Or netting $1 million? Absolutely. That there's truth in that. But that's really just the process. So that's kind of like where I'm at. And that's going to continue to be the goal until it's not the goal anymore, meaning we've surpassed that goal. And then I'm going to move into the goal of giving $1 million away. But I was telling you this, man. So this is what I believe is really important for an agent to have success. And again, this leads with like waking up every day, getting dressed, and showing up to somewhere. Like, I mean, look, if you work really well from home, that's fine. Get dressed and then go to your
room.
Your room.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But show up with some intention. Okay. And what Adam Hergenrother, and if anybody knows Adam created the company Livian, which Livian was actually just purchased by Place. So Ben Kinney, Chris Suarez, and those guys. Actually, Chris Stewart, former CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, I think, part of that organization. But Adam has these, what he calls the 4 agreements for productivity. And the first one he says is show up for everything. So just like we're saying, show up to office, show up to meetings, show up to scripts and role playing, show up to training. Just show up. That's like the first thing you have to do. Second thing he says is report your numbers in CSU 5 out of 7 days. And if you don't use CSU and you're tracking, measuring some other, platform, do that. And this is probably my favorite and the one I think is the most important, which is called do the 2. So do the 2 means you need to meet with 2 people every week in real estate. So an appointment, consider a real estate appointment, whether that's a buyer appointment, a seller appointment, a consultation, whatever it is. Now, don't confuse that with set 2 appointments, because you may need to set 6 appointments to actually meet with 2 people in case people cancel or whatever. And I want you to think about this for a second, Jimmy. How many weeks a year do you think a normal real estate agent will work?
Oh gosh, it's embarrassingly low.
Well, let's say it's 48. Okay, 52 weeks a year. Somebody takes 8 weeks off of the 46. I don't know, weeks a year. It 2 2 appointments met per week, right? 96. Okay, you're on 96, so 48 weeks out of the year, 96 appointments met, and then you run that through your conversions. Say depending on skill level, right? Are you converting 50%, 60%, or 70%? Let's just say you can get 70 to 75% of those people you meet with to either sign a buyer rep or sign a listing agreement. Okay. And then you assume of those 70% of the people you signed will buy a house or you'll sell their property. Okay. And then you look at like something under contract and you give yourself anywhere between a 10 and 15% cancellation or fallout rate. That should put you around 42 to 45 closings per year. If you just focus on one metric, and that one metric is appointments met. So for me, if an agent comes in and let's just say they're going to do their quote unquote, we call it their prospecting based, and then they're going to do their marketing enhanced, I don't necessarily think that there's this magic number of conversations per day. But if you say it all the time, because I think you got this info from Tom, but it's 50 business focused conversations equal 1 transaction.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
So you have to track and measure yours. Maybe you can convert a transaction in 25 conversations. Maybe it's 50 conversations. But what you focus on expands. And when you track and measure performance improves. So when you're tracking and measuring these numbers and you can look week over week and you've created some consistency around that, build your perfect day and reverse engineer your numbers based on that alone. And that should get you to where you want to get as far as like your number. But show up, you know what I mean? Have conversations about real estate. My goal would be to like set an appointment, at least 1 to 2 appointments every day. And then go on the 2, go on your 96 for the year, and then work your conversions all the way down. Now, should you also be doing some social media postings? And the last one, the 4th one is add 5 people to your database each week. So if you're meeting them or setting these appointments, they should be going into your database anyways, right? So if you've got your 2, but it took you 5 to meet with your 2, there's your 5 people of the week from your database. Now, whether those are, and you've, man, and Jimmy, the one thing I can say about you, dude, is what I love about you is you're like the most servant leader on the planet. Like the amount of content and value that you put out to agents through your YouTube videos, through Inman News, and through all that. It's like if they just stopped and just like picked 3 things, and we have 3 lead pillars that we typically have our agents focus on. Because if you pick too many, it's like chasing
Yeah.
2 rabbits,
Yes.
which means you're
Mm-hmm.
going to catch 0.
Yeah. Exactly.
We say sphere of influence and past clients should absolutely be number 1 if you're in your, where you're from. If not, and you got to leverage a team for, say, Zillow, Realtor.com, PPC lead, some sort of online lead gen. And then I'd say the third one you could say is like, I'm going to host some open houses. If you're going to do open houses, go all in on open houses. If you're going to call low hanging fruit, like for sale owners, expired, withdrawn listings, call expired, withdrawn listing. If you're going to farm a geographic area, farm a geographic area. But what's important, and I don't have to tell you this, Jimmy, but I'm sure other people need to hear this, it has to be consistent.
Right.
You can't just go farm and send out one postcard to a neighborhood and expect that you're going to get a bunch of transactions from that. Now you might
Right.
get lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Create consistency in your world. Focus on 3 lead sources. Go in all in on the 3 lead sources, and try to just stop trying to chase all the shiny pennies, and just focus on what's always worked.
Yeah. Yeah. I will tell you, we talk about this all the time. I think a lot of people, most agents don't need to be taught, they need to be reminded.
Yes.
And if you can just look back and figure out and just track back to where did your transactions come from, you'll begin to see patterns. Now you gotta do enough transactions to get a data set. But as
100%.
soon as you start seeing, if you'll notice the patterns, lean in to those areas where they're doing it, it absolutely always works. So for a typical agent, let's just say, well, for you, what does a great day look like for you? If you're on the prospect and when you're in sales mode, obviously you're doing a lot of different things, but let's just talk about from you as an agent perspective. What are those? Who are you trying? You mentioned how you'll start with some momentum building calls in the morning, but what do those calls look like, and who do you spend your time with?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really easy for me. Again, here we are, systems and processes. I think you can scale your business with systems. They don't require a whole lot of thought. So again, you show up and you're intentional. So we follow 36 Touch by Gary Keller.
Yeah.
Frank Pleasants with viral marketing. He's built a company on this 36 Touch deal, and it's real simple. So it's look, do I talk to every single person in my database every quarter? The answer is no. Do I talk to some more, like my allied resources? Some of those I talk to weekly, right? So for me, it's just like, man, I need to be sending, we're doing our 4 mailers to our database per year. So every quarter they're going to get some mailer. So we do a social proof that just says, hey, Jimmy, we were able to assist 500 families with their homes purchases or whatever their real estate needs in 2024. Our goal is to help 600 families with their real estate needs in 2025. Hey, keep us in mind if you know anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And then we have this map, and it's got all these little pins. And now it's cool because we represent 3 different areas of Louisiana. So we got pins everywhere. When you're selling 500-600 homes a year, I mean, a lot of houses, right? So you got a lot of credibility there. So we'll send that out to our database. We're about to send out our second quarter one, which is a home valuation. It's just hey, what's your home worth? And we use Fellow. So Ryan Young, very, very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Super impressed with what Ryan's got going on. But
Yeah.
it'll be a QR code, and it'll just be like, hey, click here to get the home value, your home valuation. And then the third one, and we've done this for years, and I've spoke on stage, as simple as this stuff is we just still do the LSU and Saints magnets. So you got this magnet with LSU and Saints schedules with your face on it. And in the last quarter, we're doing a Christmas card, just the team, wishing our past clients and our sphere of influence, just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, just thinking about you, kind of thing. So 4 of those, 4 quarterly calls if you can get them in. Which for us, what's awesome is we do a couple Hawaiian appreciation parties throughout the year. So that's always an opportunity to lead with the value. So I may say, here's my 4 calls for the year. I may say, and I'll tell you, this is probably the most underrated thing you can do. And Jimmy, I'm gonna go ahead and like literally just give everybody a hat.
Yeah.
It's Jimmy's birthday. record. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, it's Trey, buddy. Just wanted to reach out and wish you a happy birthday, my friend. Man, I hope life has been treating you so well, man. Looks like you guys have been having a lot of fun lately. Happy birthday, my friend. Can't wait to catch up with you soon. And then, bam, I send that to you. And the reason that's so powerful, number one, is people aren't even getting phone calls on their birthdays anymore. They might get a text message or like somebody might write on your Facebook wall. So with my real like allied resources, the people I really care, I try to send those out. And some people expect those every year because I've been so consistent with that. So say I say, I wish you a happy birthday. The second one's like, hey, Jimmy, this is our annual equity check-in, man. Look, I know you get the emails from Fellow. I know you may not or may be interested in the home valuation. If you are, man, I'd love to sit down with you for like 10 minutes. And I know you do your undisclosed CMA stuff that you send out all the
Yeah.
time,
Mm-hmm.
which is amazing. So it's just like that. But instead of me doing it to people I don't know or people I know and I don't know, I'm doing this just to the people I know. Third
That's
one
great.
would just be Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dream. Or
Mm-hmm.
it might be, hey, Jimmy, we're doing our annual king cake giveaway. You should have received your email. Did you want a maple bacon or a regular donut king cake? And you may say, oh man, thanks so much for calling. That'll give us an opportunity to catch up. So that could be three. And then number four, like I said, could be just a Ford script, hey, thinking about you and your family. Or it could be another client appreciation event. Could be anything.
Yeah. Right.
What I don't ever want to call you and say, hey, Jimmy, this is a business call, or hey, Jimmy, this is like every time Trey calls me, he's inviting me somewhere, he's giving me something. Like that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, man, this is such good stuff. I think the biggest thing, like you said, it boils right back and goes all the way back around to this is the action economy. And from everything that you've been talking about, all of those daily activities, those quarterly activities, those 36 touches, all that stuff comes back to it is just take action, give value in a unique way, and just build the relationships. I mean, that's the reason why this thing continues to grow the way it does is like for you as a team leader, you're giving value and having those touch points weekly with your team. For those agents, it's for them having those touch points on a daily basis with their database and creating those new relationships and building that database. So, I mean, look, it is simply take action. Trey, hey, listen, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. Obviously, from a referral standpoint, I know, obviously, but anything in particular you'd like for them to check out, or anything you're doing right now that you'd like to mention?
Yeah. So Daniel and I, some operations director. I mean, we're working on this proprietary AI. This is something that we would love to roll out. We've got technology companies. We run automations for teams. We run we do a lot of really cool things, and it's something I think over time we're looking to scale because it's really helped our business, and it's something that we want to offer other people. Obviously, there comes a fee with that, but it is something I think that we've found that there is a niche in our real estate business, and the fact that we're in the business and we're not just like developers coming in and trying to develop some piece of software and sell it. Like we're like, this is really helping us grow and scale our business, and I think it would help a lot of other people. So, I mean, if somebody's interested in that, I'd love to have a conversation to see how we can assist you there. Again, I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the North Shore. For those who aren't familiar, it's just north of New Orleans. So there's a Lake Pontchartrain that separates them. So I kind of work this triangle, if you will. So Baton Rouge to North Shore, which is an hour east, or I go an hour southeast into New Orleans, and I can go across the bridge in 30 minutes. From New Orleans and be on the in Mandeville, Covington. So we cover that, and you and I have talked about it, man. The vision is just to continue to scale east. I am, and the reason Jimmy and I we love each other so much is that my second home is at 30A, and I want to get to as close as I can, if not in the near future, definitely permanently. Once it's time to shut it down, I will definitely be on the Panhandle hanging out with my man Jimmy. So if you want to find me, Instagram and Facebook, it's the same. It's Trey.Willard. Again, if anybody has questions or they need help with anything, I feel like God's given me this purpose to pour into other people, help people remove limiting beliefs, raise capacities, and then chase their goals with unwavering determination. And so that's something I'm passionate about. So I like to give back to an industry that has really treated me really well.
Man, I love everything you're doing. And, I started this by saying, hey, every time we talk, I feel like I get smarter. I feel like I got smarter today. So I appreciate you, brother. And hopefully I'll see you here. Maybe I'll get to see you here this week.
Yeah.
But listen, I know you got some value out of this. Make sure you reach out. Let Trey know how much you appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.